Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. And it's Thursday. It's May 11th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And this is going to wrap up our week. No chart lessons on Fridays. We finally got some movement. There's not a lot of entries here, but you only had to catch one or two of these, and every one of them would have had a runner just about. So, um, really good trading day. And this looks a little messy. I'm going to explain it, and then I'm going to remove some of it. But I needed it on here. First off, you had this first leg down, and I just measured that. And so once we started lower here, if we got through these lows, you're going to look for a measured move. And we overshot that and then had a little bounce and then one more push down before we reversed. So you easily would have met your measured move and then some. You could have seen this bigger channel. They're probably all correct. There's a very short-term one right in here, the real light one. Then there's the darker blue one with the midline, and then there's the bigger brown one. I was playing the brown one. Either way, if you're playing the blue one, you get the break here and the move to a new low, and you would have been looking for a measured move, so you still would have got the same result, but you would have probably been more prepared for this reversal off the blue one than you might have been on the brown one. But still, even on the brown two-tier channel, you got an overshoot down here and then one more push down that overshot just a hair. And so when we reversed here, you still would have probably liked this setup. And once you tested this line again, then you're on the way up. You might have taken another short in here if you were only looking at the blue one. The first one you really could have taken that gave you a lower high was right here, and it would have worked. So I'm going to put that one on there just in case you played it that way. That would have been and we'll talk about that. I'm going to mark it green just so I remember to talk about it. But you could argue for this one to be red. It's a failed second entry long. It's a double top. You might have still been considering, hey, we may get a retest to the low, but by this time, this is all an uptrend. You can't argue that, we had a reversal pattern. Everything's above the EMA. You got enough room to come back to the trend line here, though. And if you get lucky and we do have another push down, then you probably catch a major high there. So I still like that one. But honestly, if you're reading everything properly, you've probably realized by this time the market's reversed and you're not looking for shorts anymore. So just keep that in mind. But let me I'm going to take this blue one off just so it's not quite so messy. Because I was playing the brown one, and now you can see it doesn't look so messy, and you can see that everything's fitting here. It looked like we had an overshoot early on, and then when we pushed through again, you would assume that, hey, it must be this must be a midline, and you can see it came back into play here, and then the lower one comes back into play. You get the midline back in play, and we reverse out of there. So sometimes that happens. We do have an overshoot, which a lot of times when you get an overshoot, you won't get a retest. But generally on a market this strong, you're going to get a retest. And so that's where I think the larger blue one came in. We did have a break way up here, a new low, and then what you get that sometimes one more push lower just to fool people before they reverse it. And there it goes. So either way, you were probably okay. I was playing it with the brown one more so than the blue. And really, I usually use these shorter term ones. Just like right here, there's another shorter term. It doesn't really change it. It doesn't really help you by playing that one. But it would have given you some trades maybe on these others. Because notice this one is coming down and you get a big overshoot. A little bit of reversal, then you got a trend working up, close outside, move to a new high, and you probably wouldn't have had enough confidence to trust that trend line yet. So anyway, that one's, you still got a reason to go short there if you like it, because you're expecting a retest of this maybe, and you do have a break and a new high, but you're usually better off to wait on that lower high that comes right here. And either one of them, you would have still had a runner. And then your failed second entry long right here. Notice that's a new high. Pull back first entry. Pull back second entry. It fails. and chance to go um, short right there. The only reason this one is green, it does uh, confirm that trend line, the next pullback. But the only reason that one's green is because it's right into the low of the day. So it's risky. Um, you're not anywhere near a measured move yet, but that doesn't mean anything. You may not get a measured move. So it's still a little risky uh, going short there. But there's enough reasons that if you want to be aggressive, to take it, because they probably trap some longs, people trying to pick bottoms like always. Just like right here, a bunch of them, when it went higher one more time, they're trying to pick a bottom right there. They said, oh, we got to, because if you look at this, it looks like a failed second entry short. Um, but you could also treat this like a failed breakout, because there's a double top there and we push through. And so that's another reason I like that one. And that gives it a little more, that pushes it closer to blue. If you saw that, a double top on a failed breakout, when you're looking for a possible new low anyway, in what's been a pretty strong downtrend. So that pushes that even closer to blue, especially since you figure that I guarantee they trapped some longs there thinking they were out and smarted everybody and caught a bottom. And then look, that's how fast it moves down. That's all these people that got in here trying to pick bottoms having to exit real quick. And no sooner than that happens to them, then it goes exactly what they were trying to pick happens. So it's the market. You just can't outsmart this market. The ES is it's very efficient. You probably heard me say that before. And so you got to be patient. And you got to play it out. And you can't be a gambler. You got to let the price action tell you what it's doing, and that's why some of these are green. But anyway, this one is real close to being blue if you treated that like a failed uh, break higher over that little that resistance area. It's also into the EMA. It's the double top, so you can treat that like a lower high. Failed second entry, that failed push higher right there. It's really what you call a double trap, or what I call, because it looks like a failed second entry short, and there'll be a bunch of them saying, oh yeah, I'm going long here, and they go long and they get burned. But you should have been noticing this breakout here too. It does come back and test it, but you wanted it to double test that before you went higher. uh, and that's another thing here. Notice that this is your failed second entry short, but just like right here, you better not take it because it might fail. Wait on and see if you'll get a double test and it comes back and tests that low again, and it also confirms that trend line. So then I like it. But even at that point, I'm only looking at this one to come back to this trend line at a minimum. You don't know that it's going to take off like that. So happens it does, and if that's why you hold on to runners, and it takes off. So this is the way, that's that double test rule, and you only get one test there, and then the next one, the bottom falls through. So then we push higher. You would have had a runner going, and this is just a two-legged pullback to the trend line, the EMA. It's more sideways, but that just means the market's getting stronger. It does make a lower low here, so you could treat that like a little failed break lower as well. Generally, I'd want a more bullish bar, but you get one right beside it there, and it does bounce off the trend line. So I still like going long there on that third, that further confirmation of the trend line. You really got your third touch here. So this is your fourth touch. And with this overshoot here, you had to be a little bit careful thinking, hey, we may get an overshoot here. So that's something else to think about. But with everything closing above that EMA right there, if it takes off, you figure we're probably eventually going to get to the other side, the measured move. And if you just move it over an equal distance, and notice it takes a while, but it eventually gets there. So we do move higher. We're going sideways again. This is really almost a repeat of this, but it wasn't quite back to the EMA. Definitely wasn't back to the trend line. But it is almost a perfect repeat pattern. So you could argue for it to be green. Another reason to not really trust that one is that you got your little small bar here, and then you got another inside bar. So if this one would have broke on higher, maybe it's closer to blue. But you're better off to see if you get that next test, and you do, and it holds higher on the EMA, so I like that one for sure. That's like your second attempt to test this level here, and it holds it. It actually makes a higher low and a nice bullish reversal, and you got room to get out, so I like entering that one. Then it comes back again, and that's a fairly bullish bar. Even though it's got a little bit of red, it's only close. It's one tick, and it's off the highs, and it's not very, there's a lot of stem here. That could have easily closed up, but there is that little gap there, so there's always the danger that it breaks higher right here and fills that little gap and then turns down. So, but the fact that we keep overshooting that midline right there tells you that, hey, we may go higher here, because that equal distance is still way up there. But I'm not that late in the day. I wouldn't risk that one. I think you're better off to skip it, so I didn't mark it. But you could argue for it as well, simply because there's a double bottom here, and that's a failed second entry short, and I guarantee you they're trying to pick tops right here again. So, and look how it shot off again. It's a perfect sign that they probably had everybody trapped. So if you recognize that, you might go long right there too. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Not a whole lot else I can say about today, and I do need to get out of here, so I'm going to wrap it up. Yeah, I hope you had a good trading day today. We've been waiting on some movement. We finally got it. We still did not get a lot of entries, but look at them, and look where they're all at. Key entry points. It's harder to see that on these few trades, but once we started going higher, trend line, EMA, trend line, EMA, 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 and look how they all took off. And that's why, all your best moves will generate from key entry points. Remember those three words, key entry point. That's where all the magic happens. And where are the key entry points? Strong support and resistance, horizontal, like these lines. Strong support and resistance, trend lines, which all trend lines are, is a slanted, more vertically inclined type support and resistance, and then of course your EMA, which again is a moving support and resistance. And so just remember that. Again, those are the key entry points. That's where 90% of your top trades are going to form. And if you just wait, you might have to be patient, but if you just sit and wait on prices to come back to key entry points, and you wait on a setup, you can really improve your trading results. So keep that in mind. But I'm going to wrap it up. Hope you have a great weekend. We'll be back again to do it Monday. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.